Hello and welcome to Demon Interviews episode 190. We've been doing this for too long. I'm your host, Springy, and joining us today is our very special guest.
Hello there. This is Arrancon. How are you guys doing today?
Well, I hope they're doing well because I am doing warm. Hopefully my fan's
Oh yeah,
audio isn't coming
it's
through as well.
my fan is blowing directly on my side. It is warm in this room.
Yeah, I feel that. Ironically, I don't feel my fan. Okay. Uh, so, before we get into this, we are going to be talking about some not safe for work things. So I want that to be known now. He does not
I
safe
will
for
do
work
my
art.
best to be SFW PG-13 as I possibly can for
And
y'all.
I appreciate that. I'm just like warning people, like in case people want to go follow his stuff. He does not safe for work things on his for his artwork, which we're talking about, and it's gonna be about that. So YouTube
Yeah.
wise, video I think we're gonna be good. But if you want to follow him, which you should, if you're into what we're gonna be talking about, warning about that
Yeah.
now. Just yeah.
Yeah, if there's any NSFW artist you accidentally follow, I'm going to be the one that is probably the worst to follow by accident. I pull no punches almost. So,
hmm
just a warning.
Yeah,
I go there.
exactly, 100%. So that's why we want to give this right now, so we didn't have a problem later. Anywho, all of our videos are marked for not for kids, but especially this one. Um,
Yes. Stay away, children. Stay away.
back, back. Anywho, to actually get into this a little bit, first I want to ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm doing as good as I possibly can be.
Well, I
It
am.
is a very hot day. It is a very loud 4th of July day,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing all right.
Yep. And if you hear explosions in the if you explosions in the background, we're not in danger. It's just 4th of July, and when we're recording this, as like he said. But yeah. So first, I wanted to ask you, for your artworks, what program do you use primarily for them?
I use Koikatsu, which is originally a Japanese like dating simulator game where you play as like a high school student and you run around and you seduce your classmates,
Hmm.
and it's fully customizable. Where if you actually play the game itself, you can make your own classroom of girls and boys or aliens or whatever the heck you want to make. However, there is an add-on to that that lets you just create scenes, which is what I do, where I use the characters I customize
Mm-hmm.
and I make all the things that we'll be somewhat talking about today.
Yes. Um.
If you're familiar with Source Filmmaker, or I wouldn't say Blender because Blender is like another step up, but it's the way I do. It's very similar to SFM
Okay.
in how I work with my models.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I started with SFM. Oh God, like what, almost 7 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, that was my first, and a couple years back, I found this game on Steam after I saw people on 4chan talking about it. And I'm like, that's exactly what I was been looking for all this time to work with. So that's how I got to where I am right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I wanted to ask you, how long have you been doing this for?
Like I said, I think it's been 7 years, but I
Mm-hmm.
started in, I think it was my junior year in college with actual NSFW content. And that was, I graduated in 2018. So that was probably 2016, I think.
Oh, awesome.
2016, give or take a year or two.
Awesome.
And that was, I started off not doing NSFW content. I was one of those Source Filmmaker users that was really into Five Nights at Freddy's at the time. And I just started off making like renders of the characters on their own, like PNGs and
Mhm.
shit like that.
Yeah.
And eventually I learned that there were websites where you could find more adult content. And
Mhm.
this time in my life, I'm starting to go more and more into like realizing there is a lot of things on the internet, and a lot of these things are pretty freaking cool.
Mhm.
And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It also was very convenient that just 2 years before it was when I discovered Ruby with my old college friends. And then when I found out that there were Ruby models for Source Filmmaker, I was like, oh boy, this is where the fun begins.
Yeah. And that kind of just leads us into what you've been doing for the past. How long have you been in this step of your career as an artist? I guess that's the best way of saying it. Yeah.
I almost wouldn't call it career because
True.
I don't do it for money anymore. I did for maybe about a year, and then the whole thing about monetization
Mhm.
made it feel more like a job and actually enjoying what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
So now I do everything for free. Just it's something fun to do. Keeps me occupied, busy when I'm not taking care of my dog and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the NSFW part's been the majority of my art career, I would say.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It was a pretty sudden shift to that, I'd say.
Well, where is the place you mostly post some of your artworks?
It's mostly on Twitter. I started off on DeviantArt when I was still doing suitable for work stuff. I tried making my own blogs off of like WordPress, but they got banned because apparently I didn't know at the time they didn't like that kind of content.
Mm.
And I moved to Pixiv, and when I found out they needed to be censored because of Japanese laws, I said, well, the hell with this. I'm not censoring my works.
Yeah.
I moved to Twitter, and now it's mostly between Twitter and my Discord.
Awesome.
Discord's surprisingly more lenient than I thought when it comes to what you can post.
Yeah, they seem to be
Because
very lenient on stuff. Yeah.
as long as it's not something that's directly not legal, they're not going to take anything down.
Yeah.
I do post on Reddit occasionally, but it's I don't like posting too many places because it just gets a chore to have to go every time I post something new. I got to go here,
And
and I
here.
got to go there, and I got to go there, and it's just like I ain't got time for that shit.
Yeah, I get that. 100%. Um, in general, what is one of your biggest projects that you've done so far?
Oh, it has to be Grimmed. That
Yeah.
is one. I only started it like last year. It's been about a year,
Oh.
but out of everything I've ever done, that is the thing I've enjoyed the most, easily. It's the fact that I'm. Well, I'm going to think about how much what I can say about this concept. That's, you know, not too lewd. Um. So, if you for the listeners here, I'm hoping you're at least cultured enough to know what I might be talking about in the adult sphere. But if I go too far, stop me.
I,
There is
I will. Don't worry. I'm thinking about it in my head as we're going. Go ahead. You're good.
a certain adult industry company that goes by the name of Lacked.
Okay.
Okay, I figure it out what that possibly means. So there's a lot of negative connotations about race and cuckoldery. If you know what I hope you all know what I'm talking about when I say these words. With that company,
We'll just assume that people are, or if they don't, then
yes,
they can
I'm
do
hoping
their own research
that
if
I'm
they
not
want.
going to be too vague. But what I wanted to do was take that idea and kind of invert it to something that is more wholesome than it appears to be. Now, if anybody, as wholesome as porn can be. So with Ruby, and there's a lot of Ruby content that involves Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
Very, well, very spicy content, and it's usually very negative. It's never.
Rough, you could say.
Yeah, it's rough
There we go.
and sometimes not as welcome to the girls as they might think. As they might want it to be.
Yeah. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I think we're good so far.
What I did is I made it where the Grimm are not just mindless monsters.
Yeah.
Most of the time, there are times where it is your standard stuff, where they go out into the there's a firework. Anyways, but they go out and they find the wild Grimm, and the sexing happens. But what I do mostly is I use these humanoid, sentient Grimm characters that are basically just monster people, and they have emotions, which is completely against Ruby canon when it comes to Grimm.
Literally.
They are anomalies that they aren't just bloodthirsty abominations of nature. They have feelings, they have emotions, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is, in this alternate universe that I've developed,
Yeah.
they are allowed to live as long as they are employed in the adult industry, and they don't cause any trouble or harm anybody while doing it.
Yeah.
And it's and the girls are all friends with them. There's no
Force.
negative connotations like in IRL. You always hear lots of negative things about the adult industry, where there's drugs
Mm-hmm.
and death and illegal stuff and all that.
Yeah.
This is not that.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a very sex positive alternate universe,
Yeah.
because I feel like there are adult stars who legitimately enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
And I'm not in it. I'm not to invalidate the ones who don't, or the ones who have bad experiences, but I think that it's an industry that is viewed highly negatively, more than it should be.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to make something that kind of explores that. It's like they're just people who enjoy doing adult things.
Yeah.
And as obscene as it may seem, we're all human. Everyone. Unless you're asexual, or I'm not too versed with those different sexualities. On average, most people have these thoughts, and it's another firework. God, they're loud over here, my neighbors. But
I feel that.
yeah, I just wanted to just to get back around to the main point. I wanted something that's very positive, that if you could look at it from just standard appearance, like you just browsing Twitter, you see it, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's what that is. But if you're willing to look just a bit deeper into the lore I've written, you'll be like, oh shit, there's actually a lot more to this than I expected, and it's something different.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely that does make a lot of sense in my personal opinion from what I've seen of your content before.
Yeah. It's like, especially with some people I know, like in my Discord server, I know some people who work in the adult industry, and
Mm-hmm.
they do these things, but they're not completely broken people.
Yeah.
They're very positive about what they do.
Yeah.
I know you know them,
Yeah.
and you can vouch for that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything about the adult industry is as negative as you may think.
Yeah. Even before I joined your stuff, I knew people who worked in industries similar to this who aren't broken people. They're just people who either need money, people who they enjoy the things that they're doing and all that type of thing. Insert reason here.
Yeah.
Joke not. Uh,
Okay, insert that joke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, God. That's like a Yang joke too. Okay.
We'll get to her eventually.
Eventually, it's fine. Um, Something I did want to ask, and since we on the channel we've talked about the Grimmverse, I would say at least 5 times by the point of us recording this, and we were planning on making a Grimmverse video coming out in October, and recording is actually the day this video comes out, I think. That's gonna be a weird conversation. Anywho, carrying on. Um, what I wanted to ask is for people who know your content and has been following it for as long as you've been posting it, you've never done any Grimmverse characters, as in like a Grimm version of Instant Ruby character here. Is there a reason behind why you haven't been doing that, or is there I'm just curious on why, like either the why or like why. I'm just curious in general.
Well, honestly, is a trope. It's never been one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a personal thing where I mean, there's a lot of amazing artists out there
Yeah, 100%.
who've drawn like Ruby or Blake and all of that as Grimm. You know, I think of who was the one guy who did the what was his name? Was it Dashing? Not Dashing Ice Cream. Dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did amazing Grimm versions of the girls.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it one. It's like I said, I don't really. It's not really one of my favorites. I don't. Honestly, I don't think there's anything I could do that could, top something like that. That's another reason I haven't touched it. It's like there's already great things like that out there
Mm-hmm.
that, it's already there. I don't
Yeah.
want to just keep doing things other people are doing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, I mean, I never like to rule anything out 100% unless I know it's something I despise. But it could happen. I will never promise it. But it's just not something that I personally enjoy.
Yeah.
Which means it's not gonna show up unless
Not on the cards right now.
it's a very high demand.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
No,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
So, in that case, whose idea? Because I know there's multiple people who work on your project sometimes. Whose idea was it to have Jean have that type of duality?
With Ruby and Pyrrha.
Yeah.
That. You mean him switching from back and forth? That one was Indrick 100%. And yeah, this is our first time actually mentioning him in this part of the call, but Indrick is a very great Koikatsu Ruby artist.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. Like does a lot of things better than I can, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I know he's good at animations when he does them. That's something I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he very early on into Grimm, like we were talking about it, and I was like, we were talking like, let's just make this a collab.
Yeah.
And we just, with the lore and the pairings mostly, and that we kind of just said, hey, we'll split this. There's some characters that I know you like more than I do, so we can, take our people. Like, we both agreed that we won't bring Penny in because Penny is his girl, and we don't want to loot her in this fashion. She is, at this point, 100% not going to show up in this series, except is maybe a skit. She will not. I don't like looting Penny.
Yeah.
I've only done it a few times because I've been asked to. But that was one character you'll never see. But anyways, Indrick is like he does a lot of the things that involve Grimmverse, where we bring in non-Ruby characters, like from My Hero Academia, from Bleach, One Punch Man, etc., etc., etc. That was his idea.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was his idea. But Yeah, he's a big fan of John. John's one of his favorites. I'm like 90% sure he's probably his favorite male character. He
Mhm.
wanted to give him something special aside from just having two girlfriends at once, and it
Mhm.
was this power of transformation where he can switch back and forth. Which, I didn't mind if we do that with John. I didn't mind.
Yeah. Plus,
You
it is very new because, like, as far as I know, because I don't know everything about every single artwork talking about Grimmverse. Grimmverse, as it's commonly known, or a cat was let into my room, um, or how it is known in your community. But this is that is a very unique thing where a character can switch between the two different forms of human and Grimm. So that's also a very that is a positive difference. Since you're talking about how that's one of the reasons why you didn't want to step toes into that area, is that you didn't know how to make it your own or make it better, equal to whatever, you know what I mean, so on and so forth. But that is a really good way of doing it, in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think it's. I guess the way to put it, I want to say it's just Grimmverse because John, it's more of an overarching like it's kind of a joke. Like if you don't know that this one Grimm guy who appears in these scenes is also just Jean Arc's like alter ego, like his Batman.
Hmm.
It you're not gonna it's not important unless
Yeah.
you know the lore. Like it's just an inside. It's almost just an inside joke if you pay attention enough. Like
Yeah.
it's shown in a couple pieces where he's part Grimm, but it, it, it is what it's just kind of there.
Yeah.
It's just like any other character. Like it, just someone browsing my Twitter, they're not gonna know that some of these Grimm I made, like some are nerds, some are just stupid, some have like day jobs that like in an office or
Hmm.
whatever. But yeah, Indrick really liked that idea, so I'm very chill. If he like, there's only been a couple times that we've agreed like maybe something isn't a good idea,
Yeah.
which well, I guess I'll just tell about this one. We a little while ago he was thinking about keeping a non-Ruby character in the universe of Grimm.
Hmm.
Like we didn't want them to go home, and it was Momo from My Hero Academia.
Hmm.
Because if you know about that show, she can create things. She's like the creaty hero. I don't know
Hmm.
how. I'm not super versed with the show myself. I know like basics,
I know
but
base.
Indra really liked her,
Yeah.
and we talked about it for a little bit, and we just came to the point that and we just thought that the whole point of the Grimmverse theme of Grimmed is it's just as special. Like it's so my friends who have these other waifus and other like waifus of the month that I know are popular, I can work with them,
Hmm.
take a break from using the same Ruby girls all the time, and do something new.
Yeah.
And then I can go back to the main stuff,
Yeah.
which is remnant characters. And we just realized that we don't want it to be a slippery slope where it's just going to be this giant universe of all these different characters falling together.
Yeah.
Now granted, I've been having Pokemon staying around, but then they're just pets.
Yeah.
They're just kind of there as a joke, like a Slowpoke and a Quagsire. They're just kind of there. They don't matter. They're not going to affect. Nobody wants to see Quagsire get looted because he's a good boy.
Yeah. Exactly.
But if you had Momo or Nami or Hime just sit, it's like if you were aware that they were sitting around, people were just going to ask for them,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be like they'll ask for more,
Yeah.
and it's like, but
Like,
we
you're
don't want to
asking
do
for
that.
the comments for them.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be like, where's this one? Where's this girl? Where's my girl? It's like, we'll do as we please. We'll do as we please.
Yeah.
We just don't want it to. We want it to be 90% Ruby.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, that's the theme, and that's what your content has mainly been, so that makes sense. Um, so the next question is going to be coming from a past guest, a Mr. Zoom _ 2028. Bacon? Question mark.
Bacon's good, as long as it's not too crispy. I don't like crispy bacon. Hate burnt food.
I agree. Makes sense.
Better, but not super greasy. Just a little bit of flop to it.
Yeah, I get you. The next question's coming from the same past guest. Is a little bit longer and more complicated. It is peanut butter? Question mark.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, the next question is kind of a combination of both, literally. Bacon and peanut butter? Question mark.
Horrific.
Horrific?
Yes.
I mean, I've actually tried it once because I asked this question so many times, and it's actually not that bad. It just tastes more like whatever, whatever there's more of.
I am a very particular eater. Very picky. There's certain things I won't touch.
That's one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I like them separate. I don't like mixing my food. My plate is divided. I don't mix things.
Makes sense.
I'm like a little kid. I'm like that for 27 years.
Makes sense. Makes sense. What, in your opinion, is one of the hardest things of making one of your artworks?
Okay. Let me think. It's either not thinking it's good enough for camera angles, because I tend to think when I do my art, I always tend to think that things turn out looking the samey when they probably really aren't. But I just can't help myself and think I could do this. It could always be better.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, knowing that you could always do something better. And I almost want to say there's only maybe been like 1 out of every 50 artworks I do, but I feel I 100% happy with how it came out. Another thing would be just when you do so many things, you don't want things. You're always in the back of my. You're like, I don't want this to be a carbon copy visually of something I did before, because when you think about it, there's only so many ways you can have sex.
That's very true.
And it's just like, when you've been doing it for how many years, you know for a fact certain things are going to look just like something you did in the past. And in that case, I want it to be better than the version I did in the past. Because there's a lot of things I've done that nobody can see anymore. They're just in my files, or I've lost the files, and they're probably somewhere out of the internet.
The files.
Well, something that I deleted out of, thinking they're not even worth my time anymore.
Makes sense.
But it's, if I do something I know is similar to something I've done before, I want it to be better.
Yeah.
And that can be tricky, because it's hard to get it perfect.
I get that. Kind of on that thought. I know we talked about how you did a form of commissions, but then you stopped. But I wanted to ask you, do you still commission other people, either using a similar program as yours or a different formatting for art? Do you ever commission other people in general?
No.
No?
I've never commissioned anyone else, because I don't like. Most of my money I spend either goes towards bills or my own collections. Like I'm a huge action figure collector. That's where my extra funds go to.
Makes sense.
If there's something I want to see in art, I'll just make it myself, because I know I can.
Awesome.
And there's been actually probably just once, where I suggested something and it actually got drawn. And it was by it's Aesthetic Meme.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but back when he did he did monthly sketches like a few years back, and you could submit your character request. I managed to get mine made once.
Yeah. And
it was like just a color sketch. I'm like, oh, that's cool, but it's like, shit, I could have made that myself.
Yeah.
So I don't commission really.
Makes sense.
It's more a lot I do with like PayPal and all that too, and money and stuff. I don't like getting too involved with that kind of shit.
I get that.
It can become more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
I've had things gifted to me a couple times, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if you're able to do it yourself, then why ask other people to do it when you can just do it do it yourself? I get that,
Uh,
100%.
no, I guess on that note, somewhat similarly. I mean, I've made art books and like photo books of my favorite art from other people that they've drawn
Hmm.
and paid for those and printed them out and customized them and on my bookshelf. But I've never. That's probably the most I would go.
Yeah,
I'm I'm not too particular. If I don't see something exactly as I wanted to see, I'm not too worried.
yeah,
I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to stuff like that. So
makes
I can
sense.
print out, and if anybody makes like a good Yang artwork, I'm gonna like it probably no matter what.
Yeah,
And if it's something I like enough, I'll put it in one of my books.
yeah,
But I won't be I won't like commission stuff. I'm not. That's just something I don't do.
yeah. That makes sense. Speaking of, who is one of your favorite characters to make artworks of?
Oh God, you. I feel like you don't even need to ask this question because you know the
Well,
answer.
I know the answer, but they don't know
We're in
the
the
answer.
middle. Like it's Yang. Okay, it's Yang. She's my waifu, the love of my life. I have a shrine to this girl in my room. I have the body pillow of this girl. I have a picture of her in my wallet. If I ever get over my fear of needles, I'm getting her tattooed on my back. But for the people who don't know, every July for the past 3 years, I've posted nothing but Yangs in July because that is how much I love her.
Why
And right now
July?
we're in day 4 of 31
Hmm.
of me posting a Yang every day.
Why did you choose July as the month
It's
of?
her birthday is in July,
Is
July
it?
28th. Yes, it is.
Huh.
And then the hotter my sun in the middle of July. The song and
Yeah. And also her voice
that's
actor.
that's.
I think her birth.
Oh, wait, is Barb's in July too?
I think it was like the second or something. I think I saw people say wishing her happy birthday just like 2 days ago or something.
Huh. Well,
That's just a
Barb
happy
isn't. Well,
accident.
I guess Barb is Yang, but she isn't Yang Yang. You know what I mean? So I don't
I
really
hear you,
follow
but
that.
it's a
But
funny coincidence
I
though.
don't obsess. I don't obsess over real people because I know there's a limit when it comes to real people you should obsess over.
Yeah. Um. Skip those two. Bum bum bum. We technically already asked that one. So how did you come up with your username that you use on the interwebs?
I've made this username a very long time ago. It was a mixture of Arrancon, which are one of the villains in the anime Bleach, and
Mm-hmm.
Decepticon from Transformers. I just cut the words into pieces, put them together, and I just kind of stuck with that for years. Um, God, you should have no idea how many times people have mispronounced that username. But I used to go by the guy, just something very generic when I really first started out, and I'm like, this, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
I've gone by what other one was there? Big Papa Pump, which is a professional wrestling reference. That's more for non artwork related things. Scott Steiner. Um, but yeah, that's just kind of where that came from. I usually like to stick with things for a very long time. That's why I've been. I'm not one of those people who makes alts usually.
Yeah.
Anywhere I go, that's my username.
Yeah.
So it's like you'll know it's me. I'm not even ashamed.
Yeah, I
I guess
get that.
the only thing I don't attach it to is like my Facebook. That's the only thing it's not attached to.
Yeah, that makes
Because I'm
sense.
not really my as my non Arrancon self. I'm not really on the internet. Like I'm not. I don't even really use Facebook. I just
Hmm.
have one because who doesn't have one?
Yeah,
I don't use Instagram. I don't use those kind of apps. I'm a very private person.
I get that. Well, now that's actually all the questions on my list. So I wanted to go
Okay.
into the final four questions. But before I do that, I wanted to say don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon. If you have any questions for our lovely guest here, or if we ever get them back onto the show, we'll ask them your questions, and don't forget to follow them if you're of age. Uh, on all the social media network, there will be a way to get to all of them in the description below. Just we already did the warning. Yeah.
If you're too young to smoke, you're too young to click that link, kid.
Yeah.
You're gonna be listening to this.
Pretty much. But next question is: do you have any questions for me as an individual, or about the show in general?
I know you said you want to monetize at 500. I can't really ask about you wanted to do that stuff. I mean, I'm guessing you go to school for like is it like journalism or whatever you want to call it, or
Well, I think that's what
is
it's
this
called. But I'm going to school for anthropology, actually.
oh, so you're in my boat.
Yeah.
That's what I went for that, and it kind of wasn't really wanted to go for, but
Yeah, this
I
is what
kind of
I've
ended up
been
in it.
wanting to go for, mainly forensic anthropology and stuff like that.
Mm.
So, yeah, and I am doing
Oh, I do
that.
remember you mentioning that. That's right.
Yeah, because I was doing homework. I was like, I was chatting on one of your servers, and I was like, I'm doing homework and listening to, um, multitasking. But yeah,
Very colorful conversations.
yeah, just a little bit. It's fine. Um, mainly in shades of yellow. Uh, that makes it sound like it's something else. I meant yang. Shades of yang.
50
That's what
Shades
I
of
meant.
Yang.
More like 31 days. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
No, make more puns. She'd be proud.
I
Don't be
know.
ashamed of puns. Puns are good.
Um. So my next. Do you have any other questions for me as an individual about the show in general?
Um, might have to get back to you on that one. That's the one I could think of off the top of my head.
Okay, that's fine. That works for me. So the next question is: would you ever like to come back to the show in the future for either another interview like this in about a year or so, or like doing another project with us in the future?
Oh, I wouldn't mind at all.
Perfect. Well, I'm very happy to hear that.
This is probably one of the most social interactions I get aside from my job.
Valid.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't really have IRL friends. I'm like I said, I'm pretty much a loner. You know, I got my dog. I talk to my dog. Talk to people on my Discord server, and that's about it, really.
I get it. I get that. Well, my last question for today is: do you have any? Oh wait, no, I have one more question after this one. Um,
Keep track, everybody.
I'm trying. Math is hard. Okay, I'm having a summer break from doing any college work, so my brain's like no math, no simple math. So my next question is going to be: who would you like to see on the show in the future?
Well, I would say send Indrick a call because I'd like to hear him on here because he's cool. I'm not sure how big of artists you go, but you should try for Aesthetic Meme. I know he doesn't really do Ruby much anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but he's probably be an interesting guy to talk to. He's one of my probably one of my inspirations. Who else is there? Let me think of some names. Table Knight is a cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
I used to hang out on his Discord server a long back. He's another good NSFW artist. I'm just gonna try to list an artist here. Dashing Ice Cream. They're we're part of their. They don't really do Ruby much anymore. I know they do a lot of shipping stuff. If you're familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
Lou21. They're a smaller artist, but I feel like I don't know if they speak English. Cause I think they're Spanish, but they're very great small artist. They're on my server. They're really talented. I'd definitely try and see if they'd be interested because they'd need more exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say those are a couple I could think of.
Awesome.
Definitely go on, but I won't go too long with them.
No, you're fine. Awesome. Well, after this interview, can you just like send me their names as well? Because sometimes there's a hyphen
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there. Sometimes they go by something else on different social media platform. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're mostly the same across everything.
Yeah. Well, my last question is: do you have any questions for a future guest?
I want. Oh, let me think here. Huh. Here's a good one. Do they feel that Ruby as an IP is negatively hampered by the large NSFW community that it has.
Huh.
Because I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
That it's a lot of people would like to talk about say, "Oh, Ruby's dead. It's just good for porn now," which I disagree with to an extent. But then we could probably get into a conversation about just the state of Ruby and Rooster Teeth, which, to
That's a
be
whole other
honest, I
video.
don't really wouldn't mind chatting about
Yeah.
because I know that. Would you want to talk about that now? I don't know if you want to just keep if you
Um,
want to
I
just
I would
end it
say
your
let's just
questions or
let's save that for a different video.
okay. Okay,
Um,
because I feel like that's something that a lot of people talk about now is
yeah,
just
I 100%
how
agree.
things are going.
Yeah, and I've seen online where people are like, "It's Ruby's only kept alive because of it, or it's dying, and only thing good from it is that," or all the things you read.
Yeah, it's like I mean I started with this whole this fandom, like we all know this fandom can be chaotic, is all hell
Mm-hmm.
compared to a lot of them. I mean, like there's I don't want to say it's completely toxic, but there's parts of it that
Are.
it's bad somewhere, like
Mm-hmm.
places.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, even though I do want to say it's like I love Ruby. I love the show. I know it has its flaws,
Every show
and
does.
yeah, every show it does. Like my favorite movies are the Michael Bay Transformers movies. I'm perfectly okay with something not being a work of art or a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy things with flaws because it's like nothing. Like you said, nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
And even though I do make adult content of this show, which is aimed, towards like I guess teenagers, mostly I would say, I don't want people to think that I hate this show, just because I only make lewds of it. I really like this show.
Yeah.
I want to see it continue. I want it to flourish. I know it won't always last forever,
Yeah.
and probably when it does end, is when my career will end. Because I really, outside of Ruby, I really don't have a passion to make adult content just because these characters are the characters I love
Yeah.
and I like working with, and they're just it's just I just enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But
But in the meantime,
porn is not bad.
yeah.
Is all it comes down to.
Yeah. 100%. Um, but with that, thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show here today. I do highly appreciate it.
It's yeah, I enjoyed that. I like talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's I don't get a chance to really talk about the behind the scenes stuff unless I'm typing it out.
Yeah.
And just let people get an idea for it. Just then letting you talk about a part of the fandom that doesn't really get you know a lot of
Recognition.
light. People know it's there, but nobody ever really talks about it.
Yeah. 100%. Um, brain fart. And I'm very happy for you to be on the show so we could talk about this type of thing because there is art of this type of either of Ruby or of any other show out there that's the 34th rule of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
If it's out there, there's porn of it. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's ignorant to just completely ignore and completely just push to the side and discredit people who still take the time to make amazing artworks. And just because they're not safe for work does not mean that they are not valid and able to have deeper emotional connections within. Wow.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's if if you don't enjoy what you're making, if you don't enjoy the subject of your art, then you're really not. I
hmm
really don't consider people artists if they don't really enjoy what they're doing. Like, I get some do it for just a paycheck, but then it's like you've heard the term soulless and like
Yeah.
gets thrown around. Like there's no soul to this.
Yeah. 100%.
I if you, like I always feel like if you enjoy something a lot, show that you enjoy it,
Yeah.
no matter how NSFW it might be.
Yeah.
Just keep it legal too. Just keep it legal.
Um, uh,
Always do that, but
yes.
you know,
Please. Please. Um, but yeah, and I hope you all have enjoyed. Don't forget to follow the guest. Warnings were already given on all the
yes,
social media platforms that
I
he
can't
sends.
warn you enough.
We've warned you like 3 times now, and also like
I'm pretty
we've
sure it's
talked
even
about
more than
things.
3.
I mean, like, I think we said the word warning like 3 separate times, but I think we've talked about like, there's some things. Be careful. Um,
Yeah.
but I hope you all have a nice rest of your day, and at least I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.
See y'all.